to talk about this. The ESPN, what they have done for the Indiana Fever versus the Atlanta Dream game, and like, it was really weird. Like, it was really weird. The halftime and the pregame and everything. Like, Angel Reese was bad. And she was objectively terrible. Like, the Indiana Fever starting front court of KK Timpson and Leah Boston combined for 38 points. They combined for 30.
The broadcast went dead silent before the explosion. Head coach Stephanie White stood on the sideline, watching a national analyst tear down her generational rookie on live television, completely ignoring reality. Caitlin Clark had just dismantled the opposing defense for an entire half. Yet, the entire studio segment was engineered to mock her every move. The blatant disrespect was not just unfair, it was an outright insult to the entire locker room. White was visibly furious, and anyone paying attention could see the boiling rage ready to spill over.
Fever starting front court of KK Timpson and Leah Boston combined for 38 points. They combined for 38. Like, when that happens, and you have a quote-unquote DPOY level, I think she's going to make an all-defense team. It's not a DPOY. You got a DPOY level 4/5. That's not ideal. However, like, you then have you had a game where it was Alicia Gray versus...
The numbers told a story that mainstream networks desperately refused to acknowledge. Indiana had completely controlled the interior, with their starting front court of Aaliyah Boston and Tammy Bentley exploding for 38 combined points. They were dominating inside against players hyped up as elite defensive stoppers. Yet, somehow, the network entirely wiped that dominant frontcourt performance from the conversation to push a bizarre anti-Clark narrative that left insiders stunned.
However, like, you then have you had a game where it was Alicia Gray versus Caitlin Clark through 3 quarters. And in fairness, neither of them were brilliant in the fourth quarter. Caitlin played a lot of defense in the fourth. Alicia Gray was exhausted. She played defense through 3 and she was dead. She couldn't do anything more. She gave everything through 3 quarters. But like, I don't really get it. When I'm not going to play this, but if you didn't see, the entire halftime was talking about how great Angel Reese was. And then they literally were like, what are problems with Fever?
The in-court battle through 3 quarters was a heavyweight duel between Caitlin Clark and Alicia Gray. Gray was playing out of her mind, pouring in career numbers while expending every drop of energy defending Clark. By the fourth quarter, Gray was physically exhausted, having emptied her tank completely. Meanwhile, Clark adjusted her game, locked in on the defensive end, and secured critical stops down the stretch, showing a level of two-way grit. The studio analysts flat out refused.
First half. And even in the thing, they literally said, and they were like, well, the Fever's defense hasn't stopped Angel Reese for her layups. It's like, she's just a little bit off today. They were like, the Fever's, the reason why she's missing is nothing to do with the Fever's defense. She got blocked 4 times in the first half. And they literally said the Fever, like, they went out and just essentially were like, the Atlanta Dream are better. Alicia Gray's great, but it's really Angel Reese. It's really Angel Reese. And then afterwards, the WNBA made this weird post, and it was like, and thankfully afterwards, they were talking about,
Halime arrived, and what unfolded on screen was nothing short of journalistic malpractice. Instead of breaking down Indiana's tactical lead or Clark's 12 points and 6 assists, the studio crew spent their entire segment glorifying Angel Reese. They acted as if Reese was having a masterclass, ignoring the fact that she was actively struggling against Indiana's defense and missing uncontested layups right under the rim.
Angel Reese reached 500 points a season for the first time in her career, moving 15 plays in the all-time double-double list. Look, if we're being very clear, and everyone's going to say, oh, they were just pointing at records. If moving to 15th place in the all-time double-double list, like, is something. Caitlin Clark moved into 3rd place, or 4th place, on the all-time double-double list for guards. She moved into, I think it was 3rd place on the all-time, no, sorry, it was 20 and 5. She moved into, like, 3rd place all-time. Like, she overtook somebody to get into in that. Let's be honest, and that was the original thing they posted. They got so much backlash that they eventually reposted one being like KK Timpson and Caitlin.
Then came the most ridiculous accusation of the entire broadcast. The network analyst boldly claimed that Indiana was blowing the game because of excessive turnovers. Anyone with access to an official box score could see that Indiana was actually winning the turnover battle and leading in points off turnovers. The Fever had protected the basketball masterfully, committing only 4 total turnovers as a unit in that stretch.
Somebody to get into in that. Let's be honest, and that was the original thing they posted. They got so much backlash that they eventually reposted one being like KK Timpson and Caitlin Clark dominating this game. They got so much backlash. It is the weirdest thing ever. Like, and the worst part is that I think Angel Reese is an effective basketball player. I think she's a good basketball player. I think she's a good basketball player. But like, even at halftime, like, they were talking about like the basket is too open sometimes. And I'm like, I kind of get that when it comes down to like, you know, for like a good finisher, somebody who's normally used to finishing through contact.
The entire turnover smear campaign was invented off a single isolated play. Clark had lost her handle off her foot during a fast-paced possession when the score was tied. That single routine mistake was magnified into an entire team-wide collapse narrative by commentators looking for any excuse to diminish her impact. White watched in utter disbelief as a routine basketball play was spun into a devastating character indictment.
Oh, for like a good finisher, somebody who's normally used to finishing through contact and then suddenly it's wide open. Like, Angel she misses open layups every game. And not only that, like I'm sorry, as a league, you cannot be posting a player who does this as a superstar. I'm sorry. Just look at Angel Reese's feet here. Look at her feet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's at least 8 steps there. There's at least 8 steps here. I just realized that the noise was probably there. But there's at least 8 steps here. There is at least...
The selective blindness regarding the other side of the ball was completely staggering. While Clark was being scrutinized for a single slip, Reese was missing 5 wide open, uncontested layups and getting swatted 4 times by Indiana defenders. Instead of acknowledging the Fever's elite rim protection, the analysts made excuses, claiming Ree was merely having an off night and the defense had nothing to do with it.
She is a really, really good player. But like, what are we talking about? With Angel Reese being some superstar level player, that the way she's talked about, she's just not. And not only that, like, it's like the Ryan Clark thing. And what was it, even on Club 520, they're like, well, Caitlin Clark's the most entertaining player. She may not be the best. And I'm like, she's what, the 3rd best player? And being conservative? Saying the 3rd best player in the world? It's like saying, man, that Luka Doncic guy is so entertaining. I mean, he's not the...
Whenever Clark had to navigate difficult bench lineups alongside reserve rotations, the network placed the blame entirely on her shoulders. During chaotic stretches where the team lost momentum, Clark was still fighting through double teams and creating open looks that teammates simply missed. But the broadcast conveniently framed the team's cold stretches as Clark's personal failure, completely warping the truth of what was happening on the floor. The bias did not end when the final buzzer sounded on an Indiana overtime victory. The official league's social media accounts posted post-game recaps that virtually erased Clark and her dominant teammates. Instead of highlighting the thrilling victory and clutch performances, the initial posts focused on obscure, cherry-picked milestones for opposing players while ignoring the winning team's record-breaking night. Clark had just moved into historic territory, ranking among the fastest guards in basketball history to record elite 20.5 assist double-doubles. Her statistical climb was genuinely unprecedented for a rookie. Yet, the league chose to headline opposing stats from a losing effort. The decision was so blatantly disrespectful that fans across the globe immediately revolted in the comments section, the public backlash became so intense that the league was forced into an embarrassing retreat. Facing overwhelming outrage from fans who demanded accurate coverage, the social media team quietly deleted their original graphics and uploaded a brand new post highlighting Clark and Indiana's dominance. It was a humiliating admission that their initial narrative was totally out of touch with reality. The double standard inside mainstream media rooms has reached a point of absolute absurdity. Analysts routinely invent wild excuses for other young players, claiming the basket is too open or that finishing without contact is somehow harder than playing through fouls. Yet, when Clark delivers pinpoint passes through triple teams, she is treated as if she has done nothing extraordinary. The tape does not lie, and basketball purists are beginning to call out the obvious technical flaws being ignored in other players. Uncalled travels, missed rotations, and wild misses are routinely swept under the rug to maintain the illusion of manufactured stardom. The media protects chosen favorites while putting Clark under an aggressive, hypercritical microscope every single second she is on the court. It feels as though modern sports commentary has turned into a forced ritual where certain players must be praised unconditionally, while Clark must be constantly humbled. Nobody denies that other rookies possess great rebounding skills and high motors. But elevating raw athleticism over elite, game-changing basketball mastery is an insult to the intelligence of true hoops fans everywhere. Even prominent national sports voices have started questioning Clark's true standing in the global hierarchy. Media figures like Ryan Clark have gone on air claiming Caitlin is merely an entertainer rather than an elite basketball player. Reducing a historically dominant playmaker to a mere sideshow act proves just how desperate the media is to undermine her undeniable greatness. To suggest that Clark is only entertaining is the equivalent of calling a generational superstar like Luka Doncic a gimmick. Clark is already playing like a top 3 player in the entire world, orchestrating offenses with surgical precision and commanding full-court defensive traps. Treating her like a flashy novelty act instead of a premier basketball mind is pure, unadulterated disrespect. The media insists on covering Clark as if she is a reckless playmaker with endless flaws while talking about other players as if they are modern-day offensive savants. It is a completely inverted reality where fundamental skill, elite shooting, and generational court vision are dismissed, while basic post-play and rebounding are hailed as basketball perfection. The post-game highlight packaging from major networks continued the exact same biased framing. Despite Indiana pulling off a gritty, hard-fought victory, the highlight reels were flooded with opposing plays, making it look as though the winning team merely stumbled into a lucky outcome. They completely downplayed the tactical brilliance that secured the overtime win. When international rosters and global tournament selections are discussed, the media's double standard becomes even more apparent. Players with severe offensive limitations are hyped up as untouchable superstars, even though their real-world impact against elite international competition will likely be reduced to limited situational minutes once high-stakes medal rounds begin. White and the Indiana coaching staff know that Caitlin is playing against 2 opponents every night, the team across the court and the broadcast truck in the parking lot. The amount of pressure placed on a rookie to not only carry an entire franchise, but also endure continuous media hostility would break almost any other athlete in modern sports history. Instead of folding under the weight of national disrespect, Clark continues to silence critics where it matters most, between the lines. Every time the media attempts to diminish her achievements, she responds with historic triple-doubles, logo three-pointers, and elite floor leadership that completely destroys the false narratives manufactured by talking heads. The locker room has rallied around their star guard, using the outside noise and broadcast mockery as pure fuel for their postseason run. Coach White's fiery defense of her team is sending a clear message to the league that the Fever will no longer tolerate the blatant disrespect directed at their franchise cornerstone. The mainstream media can continue to run their smear campaigns, push manufactured narratives, and mock greatness, but the truth cannot be erased from the record books. Caitlin Clark is rewriting the future of basketball before our very eyes. And no amount of studio bias will ever stop the unstoppable rise of a true generational icon.